Good morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering religion on this year Friday. And today I'm looking at a topic: the least of these are trying to better themselves and their family. So welcome again and thanks for being with me here as I do this talk. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for your word in this day. I pray, Lord, that you may bless us as we walk humbly before thee, and may you bless our minds for Christ's sake. Amen. So I'm doing this live talk program here covering this topic: the least of these trying to better themselves and their family. So a lot of times in this life, I realize that one has to have a narrative. And what I've learned over the years is that the Bible gives us a narrative that we can follow. And when we follow the Bible narratives, what it does, it gives us some insight as to what's going on. And so somehow, because of sin and because of our humanity just in sin and the concept of, working and taking care of bills and stuff like that, humanity has to do things that oppress others, beat down others to be able to work, to stay on top, to take care of what they need to take care of. So this leads to a lot of upheavals in life. A lot of wars are really fought over money. A lot of things that are done as corruption in society is really over money. So normally they'll say in society that whatever you see going on, you have to follow the money, because that's really what the issue is. So the least of these are trying to better themselves and try to better their family. And so to me, when we talk about the least of these, we're talking about those who are just trying to work and take care of the business, or those who are less fortunate. And so we're on the side of the least of these. So this continues my theme here for this week, which is to end my theme here, which is one of the best blessings I've received from the health message and trying to help others heal and increase their health. I was the primary recipient of all this health and healing. So whatever I was doing in the past and I'm still doing to try to maintain my health or to recover from an illness or ill health, I'd learned over the years that what it did for me, the more I learned, the more I had to share with others. But ultimately, what it did for me, it gave me an opportunity to learn how to take care of my body. And I became the best recipient. And because the gospel and the health message are similar, the health messages are simply the gospel in practice. What I'd learned from all of this is that when I'm taking care of others and looking out for others, that really I myself was the blessing, or was going to be blessed. But so is in the health, so is in life. That when I'm looking at life as is how it's constructed and how life operates, is that the health message gave me insight into what am I supposed to be doing. And so in the regular life now, what I realize is that we have this reality where there are those that are oppressed, those that are downtrodden, those that are beaten. And I've learned that I must identify with those people and I must support those people, similar to health. And I must, I am one of those people. And it changes the way you view things, because now instead of me thinking in the side of those who are doing oppression, I start to see life and start to figure out, that others will oppress others. So it's the narrative you go at life. So if you look at life as there's somebody trying to take something from you, well, probably that's the case, right? Because there's people who are criminals. But if you look at life and say, well, who's in the ascendancy? And who am I supposed to join with? Am I supposed to join with those who are oppressing others? Am I supposed to join with those who are oppressed? And then I realized I must join with those who are oppressed, because I myself is oppressed. In other words, like with health, if you analyze health from the point of view of who's causing a lot of the damage to nature, who's causing a lot of the damage, neurological and other damage to society, you start to realize, you start to see differently. So if you listen to me over the years, when I view if I view things like the drug epidemic, I view the drug epidemic differently from other people. Now, why do I view it differently? Because I don't see it as something that happened where the elites are not involved. So I'm skewed because of life and reality towards who is being oppressed. And it's the same thing if you view the current drug epidemic, the crack epidemic, the drug sales. I don't view it as the guy in the street because that's how I saw it when I was young. I didn't see it from the point of view of the guy in the street. I see it from the point of view of the bigger offender or those that are in charge. So anyhow, so after a while, you start to view everything. Same thing with a lot of the chemicals and all this other stuff, the food additives. Like really, who's producing it? You could go to the local restaurant and say he's trying to kill people, and he's involved, but the people who are really in charge are really doing these things. So this is how when you start to view life. I start to view life as in the lens of how the Bible teaches life. And what the Bible teaches like that the life is that there's the weak and there's the strong. There's those who have the power, they have the industry, they have the capacity, they have the wherewithal to bribe Congress people, senators, parliamentarians, minister of parliament, whatever country you live in. And they have the control. Now, it doesn't mean that a poor person isn't a sinner. It just means that somebody has the control and they're using their control and their power to hurt others. So the lens of the Bible is, when I start to see life more from the lens of the Bible, it started to become clearer. And then I started to see, well, who is on top and what are they doing against the people? And so that's one of the things I'm going to share with you here. So I'm going to go over some of the texts that I dealt with this week. And I want to show you now again that when you just view life from the lens of the Bible and view life from the way it really is, and the Bible just really bring it into focus and clarify it, then you pick your side. In other words, you pick your side of where you land. And so for me, the side that I've chosen because of the Bible and because of observing life is I'm there for people who are sick. I'm there for people who are afflicted. I'm there on the side of those who are least of these. I'm on the side of those who are supporting those who are the least of these. And also, I am one of the least of these. And when you do life like that, then it's easier to see life. As I say, it doesn't mean that all human beings are not sinners, whether they're poor or whether they're rich. It just simply means that where do I come out on it and how do I see life? And it's the same thing. I eat like a poor person. As a matter of fact, the way we eat is the best diet, but it would be a poor person can eat what we eat, and so forth and so on. We live that way, and life is better. So the least of these are better in themselves, or we're supposed to support the least of these. So in Isaiah 56, verse 6 through 8, Isaiah 56, verse 6 through 8 says, "Is not this the fast that I've chosen, to loose the band of wickedness and to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke?" So here, Isaiah enumerate what are marching orders. So if you just go at life and you look at life this way, your life is better and you do life better. And then you always just go against anything that do life a certain way. So that's how I see life. So Isaiah 58 is one of the most important chapters in the Bible, and it's probably one of the most or the most commented chapter by Ellen G. White. So Isaiah 58 is just one of these most important things. As I say, if you ask me the Bible, it'd be like Psalms 23, Psalms 100, Psalm chapter 1, Isaiah 58, Exodus 20, Daniel 7. And there's a certain chapters in the Bible that, for me, I find them to be the most important. John chapter 3, John chapter 4, and so forth. So Isaiah 58 comes in at the Matthew 5, Matthew 24, Revelation 13, Revelation 17. So in my mind, there's certain things, Revelation 3, that are important. Why are they important? Because they teach you how to live, in my mind. And they give you certain instances of what is life all about, and give you things that when you follow, you live the best life and you get protection, and you get protection in your mind as what to do. So in Isaiah 58, he says that there is a fast that God has chosen. And this fast is that he has chosen for us is a fast that instead of we fasting, in other words, the Lord is not so much concerned for us to not do away with food. What He's saying to us from our diet, so to speak, for us to do right. What He's saying is, I say, when you want to really do religion and do religion where you're being serious about religion, that you lift the band of wickedness. So when you lift the band of wickedness, you start to see somebody that is just trying to do life and try to survive, and there's no help, and you get on the side of those who are needing of help. Now, what happened now when you do that? Then you start to realize you're learning how to bless yourself. In other words, anything I have to learn, principle I have to learn to help somebody who's less fortunate, I learn I'm helping myself. I'm doing it for me, or I'm doing it for my loved ones. So the band of wickedness, because sometimes what it is, by loosening the band of wickedness, over the years I've learned how the wickedness happen, and there's many different methods, and but you can just go and see documentaries of how people do stuff. So you lose the band of wickedness, right? By losing it, you're gonna have to go seek out, like Job says, the cause that he did not know, he went and found out, so he can help those who are less fortunate. And then you have feeling for that person to undo the heavy burdens. Years ago I used to do mortgages, and there's a guy I used to work with, and he had a gym. So we do mortgages, I think in the daytime, and in the evening he run his gym, and he had a boxing gym, and he was a white gentleman, and he had a boxing gym, and I would talk to him, and he says, he was in, I think it was Delaware, or was it South Jersey, one or the other. And so when I talked to him, he would say, well, somehow we get in a conversation about who comes to the gym, like who were the main people who come there. And he said, well, my gym has a lot of, most actually young men primarily, and then a lot of Mexicans. And I say, really? And he said, yeah. He said, they're into boxing. I say, okay, yeah, I think I know that. And then he says, these guys, work hard. And I say, yeah. He said, yeah, a lot of them, they work very hard. He said, I've visited them because I get to know them as they come to the gym. And so he said, they come to the gym, then I get to meet them. So in the past, he says he's gone and visit them while they're at work. And they'll be working on a farm, like that's a different type of farms in, I think it's Delaware, because Delaware has a lot of chicken farms and stuff, but they have farms also. It's a big chicken area. And anyhow, so he says he'll go to them, and he says he's been where they're picking watermelon. And they'll be lifting and throwing watermelon like nothing. And he says he knows if you're doing that job for too long, your back is going to go out. So he said these guys do jobs that he said, Lord, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to do those jobs. That's just too hard of a job. And now this was not a small guy. This was this white guy here that I'm talking about. He was a big guy, not fat. I mean, big, stout, if that makes sense. Like big bodied guy, seemed very strong, tall, big. And he was into boxing and stuff, but he ended up not professional. I don't know I can't remember if he made it professional, but he just opened up a gym. And he was there, and he said, listen, he has feelings, positive feelings towards them, because he said he come here and they do a job that us white Americans don't want to do. He said because it's a hard job. You can't, when it's harvest time, he says at the farm, he says they're there and he's watching them just, big watermelons, just throwing them and catching them and packing them to go to the supermarkets. And he says they're not taking white people job. So, so when I was younger and I come upon people like that, I say, okay, I didn't think anything of the larger narrative. As a matter of fact, he was informing this narrative, because for me, I'd work in warehouses with a lot of Hispanics and stuff like that, a lot of foreigners, people from Africa, blah, blah, different warehouses. So I understand like they were doing grunt work, hard job that can, sometimes damage your back, spending all day long lifting stuff, heavy boxes. So I'd known these people, they were just trying to better themselves, or trying to get a way up. And so, but then I started learning that there was a narrative that they were hurting others, and I was like, "Oh, hurting others? Most of these people coming from countries where you can go look at the list of all the South American countries which America has installed different leaders that kill the people and overthrow them and just create a lot of poverty. The NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Act, has put a lot of farmers, a lot of poor people out of work and so forth. He has given some people opportunity, but he's hurt a lot of people. You look at Haiti, it's so clear that what's his name, Bill Clinton, has apologized for the hurt he's put because he's from Arkansas, and he's caused so much hurt and death and destruction for Haitians because he damaged their rice industry. And so, but most people don't think about that. So these people, most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, if they come for a job, they just come in to take care of their family and to take care of themselves. But to call them rapists and call them, they're eating cats and to hurt them unfairly. But then I'm saying, okay, but he's hurting me too. And that's what it is. I'm part of that. So I used to remember that these people were there. And so that guy, the white gentleman I used to work with, I used to remember his name. Can't remember it now. It's been a few years. He would be like, I'll support those guys. So for me, I'd met people who were white and fair-minded, and they were not, they were honest, and they were looking at the situation from a right point of view. But I realized a lot of people did not, and he was probably one of the smaller percentage of white males that were fair. You just understand they're doing a job that the farmers couldn't find white Americans or black Americans to do those jobs, to keep picking watermelons all day long. As a matter of fact, I remember years ago I'd watch on Vice News, and it's still on YouTube. There's a video of one of the Vice reporters. He was a black guy, and he had went down south to work at one of those farms, and you can still find a video. And he went to work on the farms, and they were doing a program because I think this was under the first Trump administration, or this one was under Obama administration. I think of Obama. And the black guy went to the farm, and he went with because they were trying to get back white Americans and black Americans to work on these farms instead of paying them Social Security or not Social Security, whatever they paid him. So anyhow, he went to work on the farm, and what he realized was by within, I don't even know if it was a few months or a few weeks, you'd have to correct me, whatever the video did, he was the only guy that was working on the farm. Not one American stayed on the farm. The work was so brutal, especially, imagine down south working in 100 degrees temperature. The only slaves could do that, I guess. But the white or black Americans left. And I don't even know if any black Americans started with him. And he was a big body black guy. And he survived, I guess. But, he survived because he's filming a documentary. But they were saying, over and over again, you have this testimony that it seemed like he missed the Fox News people and the people who are white supremacists, that the reason why they had done, they're not the reason why, but one of the reasons why they had all these slaves down in southern states, Mississippi, Alabama, whatever. It's so hot. It's so humid. Florida, this place is so humid, it's crazy. That who was going to work it? You're going to take somebody from a European cold country where there's snow and bring them to Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, those places where it's brutally hot in the summer. And then they're going to work farms. We have to be reasonable. But a lot of time what we're dealing with, oppression and grinding down of the poor, is that people are not reasonable. We're not having reasonable discussion. Is Trump and Joe Biden going to work farms, throwing melon, and then to say these people are invading your country and they're security risks and you must unleash the military, which is what they're planning to do on these people who have been oppressed by colonization and slavery. It is not even reasonable, but this is what it is. So for me, what the Bible does, even without understanding any of that, if I just follow what the Bible says, if I just do what Jesus says, I don't end up on the side of going against the poor and the disabled and the fatherless and mocking the disabled and get curses for myself, because that's the narrative that we have to understand. So over the years, I've been observing this, but I really just look back at the narrative and say, if I'm looking at the person, they're not criminal, and they're just trying to, they're poor and they're just trying to take care of themselves and their family, and then I'm fine. I don't have to understand. I don't have to, everything I said to you, talking to somebody running a boxing gym or, going and watching a documentary. I just understand. I per se wouldn't have to go work in a factory. I wouldn't have to do none of that. I just go to Isaiah, read it, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. I know what to do. I know what side I'm on with the issue. But it just so happened I have that bird's eye view, probably that's more important, that I understand that, this is the way I'm supposed to be. And the bird's eye view bless me. So I don't have to, but knowing what's going on, and I'm like, okay, I know what to do. So notice it says, I must undo the heavy burden and to let the oppressed go free. So the problem with letting the oppressed go free, if we were living in a time of slavery, we would have to land in a certain place. We read this text and we're like, okay, so who the oppressed? Remember, the Jewish lawyer that asked Christ, who's my neighbor? And Christ explained it by saying, whoever is oppressed. Christ doesn't say who the person is that fell among thieves. You could assume it is. You just simply say, this person, and then go help that person. Who cares? You know what I mean? So for me, in the society, if like now, most of the people, it seems, that are on opiates are white people. So the Bible don't tell me, no, you just tell me if a person is white, it don't matter. Person black, don't matter. If a person illegal, don't matter. Why is a person? Most people don't think about it. Why would a person, I've heard other things, but I say this. Why would a person leave from a tropical country and so forth and so on and go to Alaska? I was seeing a documentary, I think by CNBC News, and they showed that the fishermen in Alaska has to be importing people from Mexico to take care of the fishes, to cut the fishes so before they ship it out. So they go out on trawlers or whatever it is, and they catch the fish, they bring it, and then somebody has to prep those fish, cut off the fins, the head and so forth, and ship them out. Before they ship them out, gut the fish, and they're bringing it out to Mexicans. So just imagine now, that's what they have to do, because the place is cold. Think about a place like Alaska, major problem with Americans when it comes on to suicide and opiate crisis and stuff like that. And most people don't want to do those grunt jobs. But somebody is poor and colonization had fallen on them and they need a work. And somebody tell them, go to a cold place where you're freezing and go work. And they go from all over the world, primarily the Western hemisphere. And they go work, and you see that person working, and you look at that, and you say, man, that's what we have to do as poor people and oppressed. But they do it. Now imagine now you hear people talking about, oh, they're invading us, they're taking our jobs. And right there on camera, unless they're lying, the fishermen are saying, we can't find people to do this job. And so we're going to have to import people who are desperate, really. Now, I'm there and I'm like, oh no, they're coming here to take our jobs. And I'm like, I don't want to do that job. Does anybody want to do that job? And then multi-millionaires and billionaires attacking those people and saying they're invading us, they're trying to replace us and stuff like that. And then, that's just from evil. But the Bible teaches us. So the Bible make you understand, no, don't do that. The person is not doing crime. Somebody say, oh, but they came here illegally. We're not Native Americans. We all here came over from boat, and now some of us come by plane. We all here just looking for a job. We just all here want to take care of our families. No, these people are criminal. But as I say, unless a person doing something criminal, then it's not criminal. Every person in the Senate and Congress, every white American and black Americans, that there's jobs need to be filled and nobody want to do these jobs. And they know people are coming here because they've been told that their jobs to be filled because people can't fill those jobs. And that's just a fact. I've done almost so many jobs, not all jobs, but so many jobs. Whatever jobs you say, trying to replace a roof, working in some of the basement. The first job I did in America was working fixing basements. Not fixing, doing basement when someone finished the basement. That was the first thing I did. All right, and whatever job you tell me, in minor tile work, decks, whatever. So I've been, so, when I look at those people, I've worked with those people in various different jobs. And there was somebody that was absent. Sometimes the owner couldn't find anybody to do the job because there's not a lot of people working. And if you ever been past Home Depot or Lowe's in the more urban areas, you know who is on the side of the road looking for a job. You know who is on the side of the road begging for money to buy drugs and alcohol. So how are we going to make rich people who are not looking for those jobs talk bad about these people and say they're here to steal and they're national security and they're here to kill people and rape people? Some people, because they're sinners everywhere, but a lot of these people, they're just here to work. And so when you go with the Bible narratives, life becomes more clear. And you're just like, okay. But when you're in my situation, where basically you name the job, warehouse, factories, production line, tile work, mortgages, preaching, whatever. I've done so many things that I can't even remember some of them. And when you work with different things and you're dealing with people who are just poor, man, and they're just trying to live. And you hear people talking bad about them, that they're here to invade. And you be like, wait a minute, isn't that hypocrisy? Who is the invader? 7 kingdoms from Western Europe are the invaders, colonizers, slave owners. That's it. You don't find no other group of people on the planet doing it. But those people are telling me and you that we're the invaders. And we're like, no, we're hungry. We're just trying to pay our bills and eat some food. And you're telling me, I'm trying to do what? I'm here to rape white women and, all this type of stuff. This is crazy talk. Notice here, and that you break every yoke. So a yoke is something that normally you have 2 animals and they need to plow the field and you yoke them up and then they plow. But the yoke can be something of an oppression, something to use to oppress people and to put the burden on them. So the Bible said we need to break the yoke. So I realized I've been talking about these issues, but the more and more I realize there's either meanness, evil, or just ignorance. So some people, they're just ignorant. They don't know. They're just going along with whatever, the media tell them, Fox News tell them. And then some people, they just mean. They just like to oppress those who are weak. And then some people, they're just wicked. They know better, but they're just doing it because they can. So when we see this, we have to know that God is on the side of the poor and God is on the side of the oppressed and God is looking out for the oppressed. So whoever oppress the poor, then God will take care of them. And that's the other narrative that we deal with. So isn't it not to deal thy bread to the hungry? So who is hungry? We're supposed to look out for those who are hungry. I know those who are evil and mean will be upset with us, and so, but you can do about those people. We have to be on the side of those who are workers, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house. And when thou seest the naked, that thou coverest him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. In other words, when I look out for those who are less fortunate, I'm looking out for myself. It just so happened that I preach this way, but I'm one of them. One of them. I've worked alongside them, and so when I speak out. So as I say, I remember when I was preaching a certain way here, and I one years ago when Trump was first in power, I was preaching out because I was upset about calling Mexicans rapists, because I say, wait a minute, what is that all about? It is Mexicans that are rapists. There's rapists in every culture. That's what it is. Sexual urge, people go do criminality. But I say, why are you going to target those people? Those people are here working hard. I knew so much of them. I work with them. Like, that was strange. And but then I remember I was talking. I said, "That's not right. That's wicked, evil." And I remember somebody had reached out to me and say they're gonna contact the Seventh Adventist conference in New Jersey to get me fired because they assume that says, they probably see that I'm a pastor and they assume that I'm working for the church. And I was thinking, the person came across as if they were white. So just think about it. I'm speaking out against somebody who's oppressing the poor, and the person is going to try to get me fired. And I was like, go right on ahead, because I wish I wish I was preaching enough to enough people that every week they'll get a call to the conference to fire me, even up to the general conference. That would be such an honor that they get inbound calls all the time. But it taught me something, how much you could be speaking out and trying to look out for those who are being beaten down, and the supporters of the evil will go against you and try to destroy you. And it takes you to the narrative of Jesus. And you start to see these people, people for who they are. How people can be so evil that the thing is wrong. And you speak it against wrong, and it hurts. And you offend people. And then you start to realize the value of truth and the value of being on the right side. Because it's rare, I guess. People quiet. And that's what's important, that I've noticed that when this thing happened, everybody that is oppressed, everybody that's minority, and those people in the ascendancy, they should have speak out. Because so I realized people don't understand the Bible, that if you do this, it's going to backfire. So that's why, in the first presidency, I was preaching and said, listen, plague is coming, pestilence is coming, dead bodies are going to pile up. And that was way before COVID, because I said, this evil will not go unpaid, punished by God. So when COVID came, I called it. I said, watch. And in my life, I've never experienced, up until that point, a pandemic or epidemic. I didn't experience AIDS epidemic. I didn't experience the war on drugs. I saw the tail end of both of those. But in my adult life, I get to experience the first plague and pandemic. But I was preaching and saying it's going to happen. I said, watch, God's going to punish people for this, America for this evil. And if you look at, for the percentage of the world population, America experienced the most deaths. But I was saying it's going to happen. I says, you reward good for evil. You're saying people coming here because they're told there's a job, and they're poor people in foreign countries, that they're looking for a job, and many of them being affected by NAFTA, your own policy, and then you want to destroy them and cause people to want to kill them, especially white Americans. We don't side with that, because we are part of those people. Because again, even at that point, I'd known that it was a practice by white Americans to accuse black men of being rapists and then lynch them. So I'm saying this is an old sin. Why are we going back to this sin? We know that was wrong. There's a lot of black men who were killed. So when a white person now started attacking me, I realized, there's a problem. This is an old sin, and they're not going forward. It's like they keep going backwards. So we preach. So this is what's happening. So when you see a man trying to just make his way in this life and try to do better, in spite of what has been dealt with him, as I say, I have no choice in this life. I'm born the way I'm born, where I'm born, how I'm born. But I try to do life, and then I come to the Bible, and the Bible show me that this is the narrative, this is what's going on, this is what God is doing. And whenever these things happen, God, this is like from the 12 last, the plagues in the Dark Ages. And, you start to learn, you start to say, oh, that's why God does these things. And then when you experience it for yourself, you say, this is the Bible narrative, and this is how the Bible works. So we get on the right side of God. And we understand that God is not mocked with this type of behavior. But, people don't believe in God, so they don't believe. They believe they have impunity, and they're the highest power, and they have the control. And God no, I'll readjust you. I don't care who you are. I'm not prejudiced. You're prejudiced, but I'm not prejudiced. So we preach the Bible the way it is. So you cover your own flesh. So I wasn't talking on for Mexicans. I'd realized. And I wasn't being threatened with getting fired because of Mexicans. I'm taking care of myself because soon they're going to do it to me. If they can say, the Mexicans are rapists, then they're going to say Jamaicans are rapists. But rape happened in every country. But to say every male that comes from Jamaica is rapist, that's wrong. So you have to speak out. But then you saw hearing, they hate people from Haiti eat people's pet. And then you saw, oh man, it's the same evil again. And then these people support that. Then there has to be punishment for that. God sees and God knows. Notice this, then shall thy light break forth as the morning. So that light shall break forth, because then you start seeing life for what it is. And you start seeing the narrative in the Bible is real. And thy health shall spring forth speedily. Somebody say, how can I be just health? My health's going to improve by just helping those that are poor and oppressed and looking out for them. Yeah, because you start seeing life for what it is. And Lord shall bless the mind. Because remember, a mind of a person that is get up all day long and tell lies on people can't be a healthy person. Most diseases, as I say, that are autoimmune diseases start with stress and start with the mind. It's a sickness of the mind. There's other factors, but that's why those diseases can't be cured so easily, or people can't overcome them, because there's mental. The depression, a lot of stuff is in the head. So you see all these people suicidal, it's in the head. But you can't, if you're just so hating on people, you can't overcome suicide. It's just, the mind is just too sick. And thy righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. So Lord shall bless you. You look out for those who are less fortunate. You don't follow the dominant culture. And God will bless you. And watch people who go against the poor, curse. The dark ages is coming back. Remember, we end, Ellen G. White says that in the end, America overthrow every precept of the Constitution, every single thing. She doesn't say we just overthrow freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Think about it, no quartering, no illegal search and seizure. Well, if you unleash the military is there to kill people and to do wars. If you unleash the military to find illegal immigrants, what are you doing? You're overthrowing the Constitution. But I don't believe that it's simple. What we believe is that to basically keep the Americans, to stop all this, what's going on, what they have to do ultimately is just destroy the Constitution. And we're told in prophecy this is what's going to happen. The Constitution will be destroyed. They will take it out. The Congress and the Senate will just wipe it out. This is where we're heading. People don't really understand, and I think the people who don't understand the most is most people don't really understand this, much less talking about, but it's the Americans that understand what they're doing. In order for them to execute what they're planning to do, I'm not preaching that they're going to do it this round, but sooner or later we're told that they will execute and they will destroy their own constitution, which will bring the seventh last plague upon primarily America, we're told. Because they'll lead out in a rebellion. If you notice, Argentina is following them, Israel is following them, and they will get certain countries in Europe to follow them primarily. And it will be, it's not going to be what they think, because remember, America is only on paper per se, in a sense of, without the Constitution, there's no such thing as America. The country will abort itself, and that's where most people have not really calculated. But you say, well, how does this connect with the poor? Because for you to go 100% after those who are poor and less fortunate, you're going against God. And God always showed from the dark ages, from the time of Pharaoh, that he will take care of his business. So if you don't believe in God, you either you believe or you don't believe. Because in order for you to go 100% after those who you know are here and they're trying to take care of you, the people picking your watermelons, cutting up your chicken, cutting up your fish, feeding you in the back end, taking care of your construction. You want to unleash the military against them? And you don't see that is bringing out Satan's kingdom in your own country? So this is what I don't think they have really realized. But in the past, the Bible says God stand up. And Michael will stand. for the rescue his people. Because you go to churches now, and who you find in the churches? It's a lot of these same illegal immigrants. But who's going up against illegal immigrants? The Southern Baptist Church, the Adventist Church, the Methodist Church. It's the churches. They're the real problem. But the people in the church are righteous. So the question is, when you go up against the illegals, a lot of them are church people. Black people, it's gonna be chaotic. Notice in Luke 4, verse 17 through 19. And there was delivered unto him the book of Isaiah the prophet. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and the recovering of sight to the blind, and to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. So I just did this. The whole thing. So notice here, those that are bruised, those that are brokenhearted, those that need healing, those that are captives, those that are blind, and then those are what we preach to. And also, we preach acceptable year of the Lord, because the culmination of this is the second coming. The Lord is coming back for his people. Who will oppress God's people? Who will repeal their constitution in order to go after God's people? See, this is what you have to do. You have to break the constitution. All men are created equal. And you can't do certain things. You know, when they try to do e-verify, I'd learned, is that, you know, even the churches came against it, because they said, well, in order for you to start to go too much incursion into the 666 mark of the beast, no buy, no sell, you have to put these laws in place. But these laws in place would empower the government. All right? So just think about this. You'd have to empower the government to actually go too deep into the lives of Americans, because the laws that were put in the books. But those laws are actually leading us down this mark of the beast environment. So even if you just, like an example here, if you take out the issue of illegal immigrants, and you say, we're just going to do these actions for the illegal immigrants, but just take them out. You're just empowering the government agents to do these actions. In order for you to do these actions, you have to encroach on the Constitution. Because again, I'm going to give you an example. Say you're listening to me, and you have an illegal person in your house. As long as they're in the house, you're good, right? But nobody know they're illegal. They just see somebody there. And the government has to go, and the government agents gonna go in and say to the person, show me your passport or whatever. So you have to write the law to make it, what they call it, it has to be reasonable for them to do that. So they have to suspect or whatever. But the law has to be written. And say the person like in your house, like, no. But the Constitution, no illegal search and seizure. Now you have to create laws now to be able to know who is what and who is what. In other words, to me, what I see the Constitution is, I sum up the Constitution always as leave me alone. It's a right to be left alone. But now you're gonna have to be able to be sending people, and now you have to be start, especially if somebody look Hispanic or black, because it's easy to know it's illegal in America, is those who are Hispanic and black. And so you have to go in, Asian, the others. And you have to go now into homes and start to, this is back to Germany. So you can see how they're setting this up, because you're going to send in the military. What is the military trained for? To fight wars and kill people. And there's a lot of sensible people that I respect even hearing them talk, but it just so happened that they're Americans, and they're saying we need to send in the military. We need to deploy the military within America. This is amazing. And to hear sensible Americans talk like that, says, you don't know what you're doing. You're sending somebody with a high-power rifle to go, if police is shooting people, and then apologizing. You're sending murder people who are there to murder people, and they're legally supposed to do that because they're at war. But you're sending him to get rid of people who are trying to pick my watermelon and get it to the store. You're nuts. You can see how bad things can happen. So anyhow, I will cover that in the future because I'm fascinated in how they're going to do this, because I remember the Bible tells us that it's going to happen in America. But the methods is interesting, how it's going to come about. That's what we don't know the detail. I honestly don't know the details. Like how do we make these baby steps? In the past, people used to say, first they're going to get rid of abortion, which they did. So they're getting better. They're going to force these women to have these kids. Then they're going to implement prayer in schools. So you see the southern states are keep pushing to bring back religion in schools. But then there's this immigration thing that I think is shaping up to be the way how they put in these draconian laws to round up people. And these people knew that's what Hitler was doing. But a lot of them are Nazis, and they're like, yeah, we need to start rounding them up, and we need to send in the military. You go online and you look, a lot of prominent people, Americans, are saying this. So we are there and we're supposed to be for the poor, but that's going to be a problem. Because you see, notice I'm talking here. If you talk like this, this is another thing I say here for record. I'm hearing that the Congress was try to push forward a bill, but it didn't pass. That they wanted that says anybody that speak out against the administration, any ministry, nonprofit should lose their nonprofit status. Give the power of the president to revoke any nonprofit status from any ministry, any group of people that speak out against the president and his policies, and to designate them. If they, so for instance, example, if you support the Palestinian, they want to designate that nonprofit as a terrorist supporter of terrorism and terrorist organization, and that now would make the president be able to revoke, and that's what the Republicans are trying to do. So we're getting closer to destroying the country, but they don't see it like that. They see that there's no higher power than themselves, and God is on their side. This is going to be a fascinating run. So you look it up and you'll see this week, or was it last week? This week, I think it is. They were trying to push through a bill that make it that any nonprofit that speak in support of any group that America designates as a terrorist. Notice, if you support the Palestinian people, you could be designated as a terrorist organization by the American people. And then now they could revoke the status. And then you can see the next step and the next step, right? They're gearing up. This is fascinating. Like, you know what the prophecy says, but some of the details, like how did they get there? Like, because it's a mission creep, right? How did they go from, this point to that point? And then how do they get the people on board? And notice we're fighting against. Think about it. Like a few weeks ago, I'd pointed out that Joe Biden had designated Cuba as a terrorist state, and he's put the vice grip on them. So that means any country, any government, any business that do business with Cuba is supporting terrorism. And by doing that, so they view the Cuban government as similar to Al Qaeda, similar to Hamas. So if you support, that's what Joe Biden does. So each administration, no matter if it's Democrat or Republican, is just the same behavior. So now what Trump want to do, and the Republicans, and with many support, but they couldn't get enough support, they get a super majority of Democrats want to do, is make it that so if I speak out and I say we shouldn't be starving the Cubans, they say you're supporting terrorism because they're a terrorist state. Is it fascinating how this is going to go? So if you're righteous now, so what does that have to do with everything? So if you're righteous and you speak out for those who are less fortunate and those who are being killed by, say, the American foreign policy or whatever, they will designate you or me a terrorist. But the righteous is supposed to. Remember, Christ was a terrorist for the Jewish people, even to this day. So if you speak out against the evil that's being done, either inside of America, outside of America, it's going to come to a point where, that's why I've designated myself, say, oh no, I'm for the least of these. But if you're for the least of these, it's going to get to a point that you're a terrorist supporter and you could be murdered by the American people. This is where we're going. The Constitution, as Ellen Joy predicted, will go. I can see it. The setup is absolutely fascinating. Matthew chapter 25, verse 37 through 40 said, then shall the righteous answer and say, Lord, Or when saw we thee hungered and fed thee, and thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. All right. So I find that fascinating because remember, we always have to side, we're supposed to at least side with those who are being oppressed. But the problem when you side with those who are oppressed, it's you can see how it can easily be viewed that you're against the oppressor. But if the oppressor says the government, then you're against your government. So I can see how this is gearing up because remember, I'm against what's going on in Haiti, and I'm against the American foreign policy towards Haiti. So somebody said, then that means you're against the government. You see how that goes? So as long as you side with the poor, it doesn't matter where the poor is at. You said, no, that's not right. You can't do that to the poor. But who's doing it? Well, when the government does it, then the government can say, you're supporting the poor. And then the government can say, well, no, we designate those people as terrorists. You're supporting terrorists. Does that make sense? So at least that's how it flows in my mind. I can see how slowly but surely, like it's like a funnel, and sooner or later you're getting down to the funnel. So because remember, like if you're a student in school and you're supporting the Palestinian to not be oppressed by the Jews, the leaders over by Wall Street and stuff has caused that they need to get rid of those students and block them, which is a mark of the beast, block them from being able to be gainfully employed when they graduate. Well, that's the setup for the market beast. So everything is gearing up towards this, stop you from buying or selling. Because remember, the whole idea is to stop Cuba from buying and selling. So we said, no, we're not for that. Because who is being starved is the poor. So whichever way you go, that's how my mind lands it. I always land it that says, I don't care what you're saying to me. The Bible tells me to stick with the Bible. Who is being starved is the poor. Oh, no, we're fighting against communism. No, you're a joke. It just so happened that the same people fighting against communism, same people did the war on drugs and destroy black communities, the same people that did Jim Crow, same people that did slavery. I'm not buying it. It's the same people. Notice it says, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, shall man give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet withal, shall be measured to you again. So over the years that I've shown you here, that if you look at certain things going on in society, you can see that there's always a punishment for this type of behavior. At every juncture, you do this, then this happen, backfire. So Christ says, you bless people, I bless you. You curse people, especially the poor, I'll curse you. And that's it. Matthew 19 verse 30 said, but many shall be first. So many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. So we go with that principle. So we look at what's going on in the world. Look at how countries that were poor and suffering, people who are poor and suffering, they're trying to come up. And people who are the first and they're abusing others, they get down. Galatians 6 verse 10 says, as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them that are of the household of faith. So we believe in blessing everybody. We're not trying to take nothing from nobody. We believe everybody, black or white, Asian or Hispanic or whatever they are, we just bless. We're not trying to just bless one group of people. But there's people, they have it a pecking to try to oppress people, or less fortunate than people who can't defend themselves. And that's just what it is. We just bless. But then we take it a notch further, especially those who have the household of faith, because we know ultimately that's who the devil is after. All these laws, it ultimately Satan, I know their game, they're thinking they're going after foreigners. But the ultimate aim is the righteous. So for somebody like myself, I'm really down in the bottom of the funnel. I'm really down in the bottom of the funnel because it just so happened, black, foreigner, stranger, and they took me in. and then black male, so I'm target number one. And then I'm religious, then extreme religious now because vegan, independent, so I'm not caught up with the corporate body, and on you go, and I just tear, and then I preach out things that you never hear in the pulpit against evil. So tear, and you take me up. I'm way up on the the target ladder, So they're going after the Palestinian, the kids that support the Palestinian. Nah, someone like me, I'm out of the system, way out of the system. I wouldn't be able to work in there for the empire. So this is the First They Came. I've been reading this all week for you. First They Came poem by a German Luther pastor, Martin Niemöller, which himself was arrested because he spoke out against the Nuremberg codes. And Mr. Mueller lived, I think, until the 80s, but he was arrested, and then the history say he escaped, and he get to live to see another day. And but he now, a German, he spoke out. He was one of the white Germans that spoke out that what they were doing to the Jews were not right. But he ended up was arrested. But this letters, this what I read, I'd read this before, but never read the history. But I think Wednesday or so I decided to read the history. And what I read is that he regretted that he didn't speak out earlier. That's what this letter is. This poem is about. That when they arrested him, because I actually didn't know that they had arrested him initially. I just knew the poem. But when they arrested him, his regret was that he knew it was wrong, but he didn't speak out. And then when he started speaking out, it was too late. And to me, it might have not changed anything that if he spoke up. But how many people see evil, support it, and then they're not realizing it's going to get bad? I remember the Nuremberg codes were coming up in Germany, because I said before in the 1880s. Then they became prominent again in the early 1900s, and then under Hitler in the 1930s. These concept that there's a special group of people, blonde hair, blue eye. So whenever you see this type of stuff, especially coming from a German, you got to be careful, because somebody say, well, are you picking out Germans? No, I'm just simply saying that they have a history of doing this. They did it in the 1880s. Ellen G. White wrote the book Great Controversy. They did it to cause World War I. They did it to cause World War II. You look at every time people march in the street with a swastika, is they're supporting this German cause. Look at what happened in Ukraine, German cause. Somebody could say it's just a big coincidence, Lloyd. It just so happened that every time people try to go against minorities, black people, they like to do the KK flag and the swastika. Yeah, you could think that's one big coincidence. I'm just saying that this is their rule. This is their way of doing business. So what is this poem? To get me to close here, it says, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. See, so they come for the Mexicans and the poor people and the black people, and I didn't speak out. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. So they come for the Haitians, and they say the Haitians are eating dogs and cats. I didn't speak out. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. So you see, they knew how to go down. As I say, when you look at this, it's a master plan from Satan and his secret society people. They put in the rules in place, and one rule after the other. But most people don't understand the end product is this. It's the mark of the beast. How they get there, the Bible tells us that America's going to do is how they get there is they're just eliminating until they come down to, okay, we know who we're going after. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And then he ended up getting locked up. But that's how it goes. So most people think, oh no, I'm not going to be affected. As long as it's those people over there, I'm not going to be affected. So they don't speak up, and they even vote their conscience. But elections has consequence. And most people think the consequence is against the other people. And as long as it's not me, I'm not going to speak up. But what they don't know is that at the end of the day, it's for them. They're just ignorant of history and the Bible. And they're ignorant of how it worked out all the time. Never worked out, And we'll go over that in the future. It never work out. But they think, oh, it's going to work out because they're just going after those people. Really? You're that no history? So I read to close Isaiah 40, and then I'm going to go to this. So, and the glory of verse 5, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. So you might not see what I'm saying here, but you're either going to see it or you're going to be destroyed. Remember, COVID-19 came, But they didn't see it for them. They think it was, oh, we're going to beat up the foreigners. Yeah, really? COVID came and readjust that. And the voice cried and said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of God shall stand forever. People believe because they have billions of dollars and they're from South Africa or India or Germany, and they have nuclear bombs, and they believe that they're the highest power and they can just beat up people and stuff like that and abuse people and mock people, and but there's a God that they don't believe in, but there's a God. And so we know God always take care of his business, and ultimately it's not just, oh, there's going to be a mark of the beast and they're going to abuse these people. There's a God, and God always take care of his business. So we support the poor, we support the least of these, we support the less fortunate, the disabled, the fatherless, the widow, those that are downtrodden, brokenhearted, depressed, suicidal. This is who we support. The rest, there's a God. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your word in this day. I pray, Lord, you may bless us and bless my mind and those that are listening, that we might truly commit ourselves and our keeping to thee, and commit ourselves to look out for those that are less fortunate and those that are downtrodden. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live Monday, where we should talk about motivation. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.